All right, before the break, I told you about Fulton County, Georgia's investigation into Donald Trump and his allies for their alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 election in that state, and the state's RICO statute that District Attorney Fani Willis could use to prosecute them. We don't know whether she will or not, but this is speculation. For more on that, I'm joined by Lindsey Barron. She's a former assistant U.S. attorney for the Northern District of Georgia who specialized in public corruption and economic crime. She's the founder of the firm Barron Law. Lindsey, thank you for joining us this morning.
My pleasure, Ali. Thank you.
I would love you to rip apart my explanation about RICO. We're trying to do the best job we can, but I want to get this as right as we can. What did we miss?
Really, you nailed it on the head. Georgia is broader. Georgia's RICO statute is broader than the federal RICO statute in some important ways. One thing I would emphasize, though, is that in defining an enterprise under federal law, that enterprise has to be ongoing. It is usually referred to these days, actually, I mean, you almost never see a federal prosecution where it doesn't involve an established organization like a gang. That's where it's usually used. In Georgia, conceivably, the criminal enterprise could be as fleeting as a day or two. It could be a loose affiliation of people who come together for some brief purpose. And so for that reason, depending on how, DA Willis defines the enterprise, it could encompass the entire campaign. It could encompass one day of activity. We just don't know at this point.
That is a very interesting distinction, because we're just in this particular instance of the overturning of the election. You don't know who's on whose team for how long and how much went into putting the team together. But there are a bunch of things that happen that sound like the things that those of us who only know racketeering from TV shows or movies would think are happening. An organized effort to overcome something for some benefit, the potential influencing of witnesses, these phone calls that we associate with sort of mob behavior.
Correct. And another thing, the enterprise itself doesn't have to be criminal. Sometimes it is in the case of the gang. But Fani Willis really gained notoriety. The case that made her as a prosecutor was about 14 years ago when she brought charges against teachers, principals, and the superintendent of Atlanta Public Schools, charging RICO. And the criminal enterprise was the Atlanta Public School System. And so the enterprise itself could be broad. I could see this indictment making the case that the criminal enterprise is the campaign, which engages in a lot of lawful activity. But then the indictment would focus on specific acts of racketeering that she believes were committed through the campaign. And so we could see it be as broad and, in my opinion, overreaching as what we saw with the Atlanta Public Schools investigation.
Let me ask you about an article that was written by Hugo Lowell, the reporter. He says the racketeering statute in Georgia is more expansive, as you pointed out, than its federal counterpart, notably because any attempts to solicit or coerce the qualifying crimes can be included as predicate acts of racketeering activity, even when those crimes cannot be indicted separately. Can you tell me a little bit more about what Hugo's writing about?
Sure. Let me give you an example. And it's an example going on right now in Fulton County on an indictment brought by DA Willis's office. So they've alleged a huge criminal conspiracy and a racketeering enterprise involving rappers. So Young Thug is the lead defendant, and the criminal enterprise is his record label and what she classifies as a gang, Young Slime Life, YSL. And so there are a number of people who are brought into that activity. Some of those people who are charged in the case are charged because they made posts on social media saying, something about YSL, or posted pictures of themselves with YSL tattoos, or wrote song lyrics that describe YSL. So what we would consider protected First Amendment activity, DA Willis has in the past taken the position that protected activity, if it is encouraging in any way the racketeering enterprise, the criminal activity, that those acts are part of the enterprise. And whether that theory survives appeal because it is protected activity, we'll see. And a lot of people could make the argument that some of the conduct she's looking at here, petitioning your government, maybe not the former president's conduct, but a lot of the people on the outside, I expect that there will be arguments that was protected activity and that it does not fall within the ambit of RICO, but she clearly thinks it does.
That's interesting. And, for a lot of people, I think, who are following this case casually, they may not know about all of those ins and outs. pretty much everybody knows about the phone call. I want to read to you a quote by Tori Otten, the reporter. It's not clear what exactly the charges relate to, but influencing witnesses could refer to Trump's phone calls begging the Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger to find 11,780 votes, the exact amount needed to flip the state's election results to Trump. The racketeering charge would let prosecutors point to the data breach as part of a pattern of behavior to corruptly keep Trump in office. I only ask you about this because anybody waiting for this charge wants to know if it relates to that phone call.
100%. I mean, the phone call, I think, would be the smoking gun, at least as to the former president's culpability from a charging standpoint. But anyone else that the DA believes was involved, for example, this doesn't get mentioned a lot, but there was a phone call from Senator Lindsey Graham, and he was actually called in. He was subpoenaed to testify before a grand jury. That is arguably within the ambit, and so that phone call to Brad Raffensperger is the thing that people talk about. But there's a lot of other activity, including activity that took place solely in other states, depending on how broadly you define that enterprise. As long as it furthered the overall goal, which is what she's going to argue, the overall goal meaning to improperly influence the election, then it could all be brought in Georgia.
Lindsay, I am a lot smarter about this as a result of this conversation, as are my viewers. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Lindsay Barron is a former assistant United States attorney in the Northern District of Georgia, and this conversation is going to become very relevant when we start to